Okay.
Hi, I'm Lynn Collins-Mailly, co-founder of the Lily Mae Francis Foundation. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview with me for your personal journey in the LGBTQ community. And if you can introduce yourself, please.
My name is Marian. I'm 62 and I live in Seattle, Washington.
Okay. Thank you so much, Marian, again, for agreeing to participate. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the questions, okay?
Okay, sure.
All right. First question, how do you identify?
Lesbian.
Okay. And at what age did you discover this?
I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, it's been so long. I think I was 30-ish. I don't
Hmm.
know what age. It was in my 30s though.
Okay. That's an interesting
Mhm.
response. Okay. And have you come out to your family? And if so, what age and how did they respond?
Well, I didn't initially come out. Someone else came out for me.
Okay.
And then, of course, I dealt with the repercussions and growing up in a very religious household. But it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you said that you came out in your 30s or you discovered in your 30s. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that when you were outed, it was somewhere in your 30s or
Yes. It was in my third. Yes. Hmm.
okay. So you mentioned having a religious family and can you give me a little bit more context in terms of how the response was when you were outed?
Well, I lived in Alaska at the time and they're in Georgia. And a person in Alaska outed me. And then
Mhm.
I flew home because, you can only do so much over the phone. So that the next time I flew home, I didn't know what to expect. But my mother said, I don't even remember exactly what she said, but I remember her crying
Mhm.
and saying, I can't believe, like this is your lifestyle and hopefully it's a phase. And I said, I don't think it's a phase. Um, but she cried and she was fine. I mean, she eventually, warmed up to it. My father, on the other hand, Reverend, um,
Right.
he he said to me, he made a joke. He said, I didn't know I had, four girls and three boys in the family.
So
Saying I was
referencing you as a boy.
as a boy, yes. And I said, no, you still have five girls and two boys. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so are you out at work? And if so, what is that experience like?
I'm no longer working right now, but since yeah, I'm no longer working right now, I'm retired. But um, I, when I was at work, I was an instructor. I was out to a lot of the faculty,
Mhm.
but not in the classroom.
Okay. And so being out to the faculty, what is that experience like in terms of, I guess, conversations or were there ever conversations on maybe a partner or anything like that?
Oh yeah, they knew who my partner was. He'd come to events or come to the college, that type of thing. And most were fine. Of course, there's a rumor mill, among faculty if they're,
Right.
people. So those who I didn't tell knew.
Mhm.
And some would, I mean, I live in the heart of Gayville.
Okay.
It's Seattle, Capitol Hill, and the college is in Gayville, Capitol
Okay.
Hill. So it was really, not a big deal. Most people are really liberal or quote unquote liberal. Um, so it was fine.
So the community that you work and live in was open, more
Oh
open,
yeah,
I guess you should say. Okay.
very much so.
Okay. What impact, if any, do you think that the coming out process played on your mental health? Or what impact it could play on an individual's mental health?
Oh, well, I mean, it could play greatly on an individual's mental health. For me, I think since I was a little older,
Mhm.
but I had just my life had transitioned as well. I had become like I don't know if you would call it a born again Christian, and so I'd just been baptized for the first time. And I really had a challenging time with this whole thing. I was like, well, maybe I'm just attracted to this one person,
Mhm.
because we communicate so well, we have things in common. Um, and I felt guilty. I felt a lot of guilt, I think based on my religious background and, all the things you hear in the Black church. And it just, yeah, I think so. I think that did, in the sense of I was confused. I was very confused. Like, the Bible says this, but
Mhm.
I, I am this way, and I want to be this way, and not hurting anybody. And so, yeah, it was really confusing.
So basically, an acceptance of self,
Mhm.
right? What you feel versus what you've been taught, right?
Right.
I guess a battle of
Exactly.
that. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. And so do you think there are enough programs for kids and teens to assist them with managing this topic, coming out to their families, navigating the whole process?
Not at all.
Okay.
And with what's going on in Florida, I mean, that's frightening with the
What's
governor,
going on in Florida?
with this um don't say gay thing he has going on, where you can't talk about being gay or gay family or anything other than the heteronormative,
In the
uh,
schools.
in the schools. Yeah, and first he had from kindergarten to third grade, and now it's been extended all the way until uh, 12th grade.
Hmm.
That's absolutely insane. So how can you support when you have things like this going on in academic institutions?
And so he's made it law or just kind
Yes.
of
No, this is law. You cannot in the schools do
say
that.
the word gay.
You can't say gay. You can't talk about gay, anything gay. I mean, and, I'm such a researcher. I want to like pull it up on my phone real quick and give you exact verbiage. But
That's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
Mhm.
horrible.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So I guess if when you say there aren't enough programs,
Mhm.
what do you think a program would look like though? In terms of if, what age do you think would be a
Yes.
good place to
Uh-huh.
start? And what would
Uh-huh.
the program actually look like? Would it include teaching parents?
Mhm.
Give me a little context to that.
Well, I think it needs to start in school. I think different families need to be addressed for books, just like we do, whatever the topic is, it's just about talking about community and society.
Mhm.
It needs to be addressed, the different type of relationships there are, whether it's single parenthood or, two-parent household or, heterosexual families. So I think it needs to start there. And, because the, the problem with our society is that we sexualize everything.
Mhm.
You hear gay, you hear lesbian, you hear trans, you hear all of this. What comes to your mind is sex.
Mhm.
It's not,
Absolutely.
it's not about sex.
Right.
It's a lot deeper than that. So I think it needs to start there and support in the schools, because look how much time children spend in school and
Mhm.
young adults, that type of thing. So it needs to be there, and it needs to be in our communities, providing one-on-one support, group support, whatever that person needs.
And
I'm a big advocate
actually,
of
that's
that.
a good point, that I'm glad you brought up, because when you think about normal conversations, with school age children,
Yeah.
it would make sense to bring it up early, to just say there are different types of families,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And then
exactly.
describe all the different types there are. And
Right.
it's just normalized, and you move on. You don't have to speak to any specific type of
And
family.
that's it. That's
That's
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
And there are
great,
tons of books out there. And
absolutely.
I'm not gonna stop work. I mean, I've got to get involved. I've got to be active in because that's my thing. I
Mhm.
think I was put on this earth to do that. So I need to get involved.
And I think one of the biggest things that we probably could do too
Mhm.
is have conversations with parents,
Oh yeah.
because I think that the response that you said that you received from
Mhm.
your parents was just because there were no conversations
Right.
about
Yeah.
it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which leads us into our next question. What do you think is needed to make this an easier topic to discuss, whether it be in the church,
Mhm.
in the school, just general conversation? What do you think would make it easier?
I definitely think it needs to be discussed, although it probably won't ever be. Well, when I think of Black Baptist Church, how I grew up,
Right. Mhm.
um, but it definitely needs to be discussed there, and in, like I said, the educational institutions, within family support groups like parent teacher conference, that type of thing, and just parents support groups. So yeah, I mean, we still have a long way to go, a very, very long way to go. Yeah.
I think that's what we're trying to do here with Lily Mae Francis, at least start a conversation about
Right.
it. you
Very
know,
nice.
because I know from, you know, my personal experiences with my own family, I think that it was just kind of ignored. Like we didn't talk about it. It was like, you know, yeah, it exists, but that's
Mhm.
it,
Yeah.
right? No conversation
Mhm.
about any of it. I mean, mental health either.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
no conversation.
Right, right.
So
But
I
isn't
just
that in
want,
most families when I think about it,
mhm, mhm.
there's all these secrets,
Oh, absolutely.
Shh, you don't talk
Yeah.
about that,
And why not? Why
Yes.
aren't we talking?
All
You
right. Yes.
know? Okay, last question. Actually, two more.
Okay.
What does pride mean to you? And do you celebrate it? And if so, what do you do to celebrate?
Um, I have celebrated over the years. I've flown to Atlanta and gone to Black Gay Pride and enjoyed some of those activities. In Seattle, I've gone to parades. I've gone to parades in several cities. Um, as I get older, I mean, I might want to go down to the parade just for a minute, but I don't like a lot of crowds. So, that's not my thing anymore. But I mean, there's pride within,
Mhm,
right? And so if I see any injustice out there as well, I mean, I'm going to call it out if
mhm.
it's in public. So I will definitely call it out. Um, so I think all of that's pride, you know.
So just a
Being-
daily
Yeah,
remembrance of I'm proud.
right. Yes, exactly.
Last thing, I just wanted to ask if there's anything that I didn't ask you
Mhm.
that you may have thought about coming into the interview that you wanted to share, or you were hoping that I would ask.
No, I was just excited about doing an interview. I've always been
Uh-oh. I don't know if it's mine or yours, but you're starting to freeze on me. Can you hear me? Look like your screen is frozen. I don't know if you can hear me or if it's mine. Not sure. I'll give it a second. Okay, well, since that was my last question, I'm gonna go ahead and end the interview.